Hello everyone, I'm your teacher, and today we are going to learn about night owls and how their brains are fundamentally different from those of morning larks. So, everyone who's watching this video, I'm curious, do you think that are you a morning person or are you a night person? Or I guess to word it differently, are you a morning lark or a night owl? I think I am definitely a night owl. If you were to leave me alone, I would probably sleep at 3 or 4 o'clock every night and get up around 10, 11. But unfortunately, school and work does not allow for that. So sometimes I have a hard time getting up in the morning. I don't know if any of you relate to that. But yeah, so it turns out that scientists have discovered that the brains of night owls, or people who stay up late, and morning larks, or people who like to get up early, are fundamentally different. So we're going to learn all about that today in our article. When one browses the shelves in the self-help section in bookstores, they find that an often repeated piece of advice to achieve success is to wake up earlier in the morning. However, making this change is not as easy as it seems for those with nocturnal sleep cycles. So I really like self-help books, and I love bookstores, especially stores like Aladdin, where I can get stuff for cheap. But I noticed sometimes when I'm reading self-help books, I notice that one of the things that is repeated so many times is that if you want to make more time in your day, get more things done, you should wake up earlier. So it sounds pretty simple, right? Just get up 2 hours earlier and you can have 2 more hours to get some work done, right? However, making this change is not as easy as it seems for those with nocturnal sleep cycles. So nocturnal, that means usually it describes a type of animal that is awake at night and sleeps during the day. So that's why we call people who like to stay up late night owls, because owls are nocturnal. They go hunting and flying around at night and they sleep all day long. So if you were to tell a real life owl that he had to get up at 6:30 in the morning and do his hunting then, it would probably be really, really difficult for him, right? So it's actually the same thing with humans. So for people like me who usually get more work done in the middle of the night, it's really hard to force ourselves to wake up early in the morning. So why is that? When researchers scanned the brains of people classified as night owls and morning larks, they found that those who tend to stay up late performed worse on measurements of attention, reaction time, and productivity during a 9-to-5 workday. So the people who are classified or separated into a group as night owls and morning larks. So the scientists, they split people into 2 groups, night owls and morning larks, and they tested to see if there was any difference in productivity or other indicators. And what they discovered is that night owls who stay up late, they performed worse on measures of attention, reaction time, and productivity. So they were able to pay attention less, their reaction time was slower, and their productivity was also lower. So they're getting less work done, they're concentrating less and for shorter amounts of time, and they're also reacting slower to stimuli or things that happen outside of the body. Well, let's think about it. If you were to take an owl, like a literal animal, the owl, and a lark, and tell them to do the same task between 9 in the morning and 5 o'clock in the evening, who do you think would do better? Probably the lark, right? Because they've evolved to be most productive when it's light outside. Whereas owls, they've evolved they have really huge eyes that can see things well at night. Their wings are engineered so that they can fly super quietly. They're creatures of the night. So if you try to get them to work during the day, it's not going to work. So it seems that the researchers found this to be the case with humans as well. Contrary to popular belief, this is not because night owls are inherently lazier, less productive, or less disciplined than their early rising peers. Their lower scores were found to be linked to increased levels of sleepiness caused by a mismatch between their biological time and social time. So, like we just said, people who stay up late at night, the night owls, they concentrated less, they reacted slower, and their productivity was lower, right? So, if I'm the boss, I might look at these two people and say, well, you both had 8 hours to get the work done. Why is it that you're doing worse? And a lot of people, unfortunately, believe that people who stay up late at night, they're inherently lazier, or just from the inside, it's just an intrinsic quality about them that can't be changed, or they're inherently less productive or less disciplined. So, so someone could think, well, you're not doing as much work because you don't have the discipline. You simply don't care enough, or you're not trying hard enough. So it's sad that people think that, because the researchers found that is actually not true. So why is it that the night owls had lower scores? The lower scores were linked to increased levels of sleepiness caused by a mismatch between biological time and social time. So basically, there are some people who their brains are structured to get more work done later in the day and less work done earlier in the day. So there's a mismatch between their body's clock and the clock of the office that they work at. And that makes things really difficult, right? So we call this a mismatch between biological time, or the time that your body's clock will run on, and social time, which is the time that we have to go out and be with other people, working, studying, playing, doing whatever. So let's think about it. Well, if morning larks, they're getting more done, they're concentrating better, and they're more productive, and their reaction time is faster, well then, I guess people who are night owls, they should just get up earlier, right? And if they become morning larks, they can also reap the benefits of this too. However, that's not necessarily the case. Why? Switching from owl to lark is not a simple matter of setting one's alarm clock an hour earlier. Additional studies have found that night owl tendencies are at least partially determined by genetics. So, I remember back in high school when I would have a super hard time getting out of bed because I was usually doing homework until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. My dad would always just say, well, if you have a hard time getting up in the morning, you should just set your clock 1 hour earlier, right? You should just set your clock 1 hour earlier, right? Then you'll have more time to wake up and get ready and get on the bus. However, studies have found that night owl tendencies or habits are at least partially determined by genetics. So you and I, we can't change our DNA, right? That was decided by our parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, and it goes back for generations. We cannot choose the things that we inherit from our parents' genes or DNA. And that includes the tendency or the habit of being a night owl or a morning lark, because these tendencies are at least partially determined by genetics. So it's literally in our DNA. We can't change it. And it makes people's lives a lot easier, like mine. Additionally, forcing those with night owl brain structures to work hours designed with morning larks in mind was found to produce negative health outcomes, including higher incidences of high blood pressure, diabetes, and even earlier death. Ooh, sounds really bad. So when a company or a school forces people who their brains and their DNA have decided that they are night owls to work on a schedule designed with morning larks in mind, so it was designed for morning larks, making people work on this kind of schedule that doesn't really match with their biological clock was found to produce negative health outcomes. So it caused bad things to happen related to people's health. And these include higher incidences of high blood pressure. So it's more likely, the possibility is higher, the percentage is going to be higher that you'll have high blood pressure if you are a night owl working a morning lark schedule. It can cause diabetes, because if you're not sleeping right, your body can't really process sugar and food the way that it's supposed to. And when things are really serious, it can even cause you to die. If you don't get enough sleep, if you're not taking care of your body, it can go bad really, really quickly. So it's hard out there for us night owls, right? But I know it sounds like it's all doom and gloom and just everything is bad for people who are night owls, but there's hope. Why? When night owls were permitted to work on an adjusted schedule, which allowed them to wake up and go to sleep just 2 hours later, these symptoms were drastically reduced. So as we said in this slide, it looks like the problem here, it's not actually the people's brains, it's just the schedule that they have to work. So in order to help people with night owl brain structures, we can simply move the schedule back for 2 hours. So if the original schedule would have you at work from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, this adjusted or changed schedule would have you at work between 11 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock at night. And if you allow night owls to work on this different schedule, the negative health outcomes that we talked about here, high blood pressure, diabetes, death, these symptoms were drastically reduced. So they went way, way down. In light of this research, some scientists recommend that the lark-suited 9-to-5 workday be reconsidered to allow night owls to maximize work performance and health. So we talked about this earlier, right? Whether you're a night owl or a morning lark, at least part of that is just decided in your DNA, and that's not really something that we can change. There are things like your eye color. Unless you were to get a tattoo on your eye, you can't change the color of your eyes. You can put in contacts, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have the eyes that you were born with. Other things that are determined by our DNA, like disability. Some people are born with disabilities. It's not something that they can really change. So it's not really fair to discriminate against someone who has a disability, or you don't like their eye color, something like that. They didn't do anything to get that. You don't do anything necessarily to become a night owl, but there are all these difficult symptoms that you can deal with if you happen to be born with night owl DNA. So, what should be done exactly? In light of this research, or after they saw this research, after they looked at it, some scientists recommend that the 9-to-5 workday be reconsidered. You have to think about this again. Maybe even make a change. It should be reconsidered to allow night owls to maximize work performance and health. So if I'm the boss, I want all of my employees to be doing as much work as possible, right? Because I'm paying them money, so I want them to do a good job. But if I hire a night owl and I make them work early in the morning, I'm not going to maximize their potential. I'm not going to be getting as much value out of them as I want. And on top of that, my night owl employee, they're going to feel really bad all day, and their health could even deteriorate. So what people are suggesting is that we just move the schedule back about 2 hours, or let people select the hours that they work. They still work the same number of hours, but now it's just adjusted to fit their biological clock a little bit better. And in this way, we can maximize work performance and health. So get them to do more work and be healthier while they do it. So today we read about a topic that is very, very near and dear to my heart as a lifelong night owl. So I hope that if any of you are having a hard time getting up in the morning and you happen to do work a little bit better at night, just please know you're not alone, and it might just be your DNA that made you like that. So, and if you have a child or a student who has these night owl tendencies, please be maybe a little bit forgiving or try to adjust their schedule so that they can maximize their productivity or their work as well as their health. All right, well, that is all for today's video. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you again next week. All right, bye.